they behave a lot differently than women say they do. Because women live in a world of fantasy. Fantasies that are presented to them by radio soap operas and television soap operas and their own nonsensical drama. Because again, they can't get along with themselves. They can't get along with each other. But one thinks she should be president. And a bunch of other dummies think right along with her because they have boobies and nays too. Doesn't that make sense? Not accomplishment, not achievement, not leadership, genitalia. So I must not like that genitalia because I'm pointing out certain truths. Of course, when I point out the truths about Barack Obama's ineptitude, no one ever says I'm a misandrist and that I hate men. They just say that I don't like black men. Again, not dumb Marxists, not people who are against my race. Just flat out, I'm this, I'm that. You're this, you're that. If you don't like Barry, you're a racist. If you don't like Hillary, you're a misogynist. See how it works? It's a very adolescent mindset that the liberal progressive lives in. There isn't really any critical thought. Again, we don't dislike their policies. We don't dislike what they've done to the economy. We don't dislike what they're doing to our personal lives. We don't like them for their gender and their race, because that's what Saul Alinsky taught us, because that's Marxism. And that's what Marxism does. It finds a little wedge. It finds a little crack in the armor, and that's usually in the psyche of those who feel insecure about their gender or about their race. So now these become grievance issues for that gender and that race. And all the little things that they call microaggressions, they get to respond to with macroaggressions. And they can macroly aggressive towards the rest of us who live normal, healthy, sane lifestyles. No, it's a microaggression. You said, "Have a good day, ma'am." You said, "Those boys." You said, "Those people." That means this. That means this. That means that. That's funny. But DNC leaks means Hillary cheated. You don't seem to be worried about that. DNC leaks means Hillary lied. You don't seem to be worried about that. Benghazi means Hillary allowed people to die while she broke American laws, but you don't seem to be worried about that. You're worried about imaginary things that you can detect with your magic, evil white man detectors. No one else is evil. No one else is wrong. Just the evil white man. Well, evil white men of America, we're sort of tired of it. And considering we're the ones with the 93 million legal firearms, and we're the ones that run most of the small businesses, and we are most of the firemen, and we are most of the policemen, and we are most of the soldiers, and we are most of the people who maintain the civilization that you live in, maybe it's time you examine your role in society and who it is that you hate in society and who it is that you are actually helping in society. What are you contributing to? Anything? Are you a contributor? You think you get online and you go to Twitter and you make noise? That's contribution? Same thing at Facebook? Are you contributing? Or are you just a noisemaker? I don't know if you think that men are voting against Hillary Clinton because they're misogynists. Trust me, you're not a contributor to anything of merit. You're a fool. You're a Marxist fool. You're the first cog that went down, the first domino that was toppled by the red infection that came into this nation. Of course, if Donald Trump wins, we can all expect an unending wave of misandry and anti-white bigotry and anti-money hatreds. People, that Donald Trump has had more money than me. He should give it back. Give it back to who? He didn't take it from you because you never had it. He earned it the hard way. Things that most of you don't like to do. That's why you have your city jobs and your state jobs. You don't own businesses. You're not important. You're little cogs in machines that are replaced very easily. Those businesses that you work for, you could never manage, you could never operate, and you most certainly could never own. You're a cog. You're a noisy little wheel. The problem is that you've been oiled too much, and that oiling has gotten into the gear just a little too deeply, and you think you're too important to part, not realizing that you're expendable. The Michelle Cottles of the world, the Hillary Clintons of the world, the Barack Obamas of the world. These people are going down in history as useless fools who have done nothing but drag the society into the dirt. We're dragging it right back up out of the dirt. And if it takes Donald Trump to do it, more power to him. Because we're not going to let the criminal Hillary Clinton, who's losing pathetically, she is losing pathetically in all non-media polls. We know that the media skews the polls with 3-1 liberal to conservative interviews. So it doesn't matter what questions they ask. It's always going to be skewed in the Democrats' favor to create the little psychological wedge. Oh, I can't go out because it's already a lost cause. I'm not going to be part of a lost cause. Well, it's not a lost cause, people. Donald Trump is winning the presidency of this nation, and this nation will become great again, despite the Michelle Obamas, and despite the Hillary Clintons, and despite the Michelle Cottles, and the other whiny dumbasses that do nothing for this nation except drag it down. Your time is done, losers. We're finished with you. You got 8 years to whine your little asses off while we all move forward and leave you behind. Because we're sick to fucking death of all of you. That's what it comes down to. Your lies, your inability to deal with reality, the bullshit. Done.
Bad Machine. Myths of the Machine is brought to you by our sponsor, Mighty Man Limited. Be a master of the universe when you wear Mighty Man Limited athletic and sportswear, custom-designed athletic compression gear for male and female athletes, compression shirts, sports bras, yoga pants, hoodies, and more. Available only at mightyman.logosoftware.com. Be mighty. Since the time when men gathered around campfires and told tales of the warriors who challenged the monsters that gather in the dark. The mighty men who fought alongside the gods, some rising to victory, others falling to the abyss. These are the heroes who became the myths of the machine.
Jaime Olivo ran. Jaime Olivo ran as fast as he could. He first thought getting off the 1 train a few stops early and switching his path back to his Riverdale apartment would help him lose the men following him, but it didn't seem to work. Not only did he not lose them, but they, apparently now 6 instead of the initial 4 he first noticed exited the subway train when he did. Jaime hoped he could lose them in a crowd of people, but at 1 a.m. there were no crowds out tonight, and not especially with the hurricane weather conditions that soaked the city above him. The only crowd to exit his train were the men in trench coats who were following him. Jaime Olivo ran down Tunnel Street as if his life counted on it, because he was sure that it did. Most people called Tunnel Street the 191st Street Tunnel, as it connected the 1 train station stop to Broadway, and it was usually filled with groups of teens who used the passageway as a semi-private hangout. But only a lone homeless person who was pushing a shopping cart full of the day's collected refuse cans, shuffled towards the tunnel exit, towards the main thoroughfare that was Broadway. The tunnel echoed with the sound of Jaime's footfalls and his attempts to fill his lungs with air in the humid, dank, century-old passageway. Jaime heard the crashing of the can-filled shopping cart as it toppled to the ground. He quickly looked over his shoulder to see one of the 6 men pumping 6 bullets into the homeless person's chest, the fallen bum's body now laying atop the toppled pushcart. Jaime fingered his Noble Tech bracelet, and still no signal. He had no way to warn Katie or her large, bald friend. Of course, Jaime thought if the two were together, Katie's pal Archie was more than capable of protecting them both. It was Jaime's fat that was in the fire now, and he had no illusions that these people wanted him dead. They wanted him as dead as they had left Jaime's cyber hacker contact and source for his many irritating media revelations, exposing corruption at every level of government and big business. But when Cyber Stan informed him about the files that he had recently hacked, calling them Mr. Big's mother lode, Jaime knew the potential for danger increased 1,000-fold. When Jaime had arrived at Cyber Stan's 46th Street walk-up, what he saw was police taping it off and Stan's unmistakable girth zipped in a coroner's body bag where it was being loaded into an unmarked black van. He began to worry, but Jaime attempted to convince himself Stan was 58 years old, and he did weigh an unhealthy 310 pounds, and this heat the last week was terrible. It could have been natural causes. It could have been. But why the police tape? And why were there so many unmarked official vehicles on the block? Jaime knew something was wrong. He could feel it. Hell, he knew it now. Jaime was both lucky and unlucky that Cyber Stan was always thinking, and his compulsive paranoia compelled him, despite his unhealthy size, to go to extremes in order to ply his tradecraft of information gathering, exchange, and dissemination. "Shall we play a game?" Stan would shout at his multiple view screens after breaching the system security at a big pharma conglomerate who was charging $1,000 a tablet for a cancer drug that cost him only 3 cents to make. Or when he proved that local politicians were in cahoots with media and law enforcement to create the illusion of chaos, all to push crony contract deals and generate media advertising dollars that would be kicked back to politicians' slush funds. Jaime was lucky. Cyber Stan was a special effects geek, and that Stan's rooftop pigeon coop never actually contained pigeons. Stan's allergies would never allow for that type of interaction with the less-than-cleanly domestic carriers. Jaime was lucky. The caked layers of aged pigeon poop was really carefully placed and painted concrete, made to look soiled, with years of pigeon excrement. It was designed to openly hide Stan's hidden satellite uplink, antenna, and hard drive backup. It also served as a drop box for when Cyber Stan needed to pass information along too sensitive for the internet transmission. Had anybody ever stumbled across the pigeon coop, they'd look at it as a filthy mess, and not as an insulated Faraday cage containing world-shaking technology. Jaime spun the combination lock to 5, 39, 27, and the lock popped open. Reaching under the lid of the most filth-caked coop, Jaime sprung the hidden trigger, which opened the drawer that contained the multi-terabyte drives. One of the drives had a single red flash drive with the letters NB written across them in marker ink. Jaime pulled the flash drive from the blinking data drive when he heard the soft whirl of mechanical wings. Jaime turned, and he saw a small drone not 15 feet from where he was crouched in the pigeon coop. Small red, green, and blue lights, like bug eyes, were lighting the drone's sides. Jamie tried not to move. He had hoped his paranoid friend had built the electronic shielding in his pigeon coop as well as he had bragged, and that it would hide him, in the way that it hid the expensive equipment tucked into the woodwork. Unfortunately for Jaime, it did work. The pigeon coop appeared to the distant drone operator's scanners as a huge black blot, which should not appear to the advanced scanning technology. The pigeon coop was designed to be hidden in plain sight, not from the advanced scanning technologies in the drones that sought out anomalies to its multi-band frequency scans. The drone sent out a silent signal detailing the location coordinates of the electronic cold spot, and its rotors spun it high and away from the pre-war tenement rooftop. Jaime exited the pigeon coop, locked it, and ran to the street-side rooftop overcropping and peered over. All attention and activity now were being directed to the entrances of the building to which he stood, and that which flanked Stan's building on the east and on the west. Teams of men streamed into the structures, heading to the respective rooftops. Jaime ran to the east side of the building he stood on and looked at the 5-foot gap between this building and the one next to it. He looked at the 70-foot fall to the alleyway below, if he didn't make the jump. It was only 5 feet.